Hello Group 402, this is our final weekly feedback video. Today I'm going to cover some key concepts from the activities that we had from your American Headway textbook. So first, let's look at what appeared on pages 92 and 93. One of the exercises was called discussing grammar, so that's what I'm going to look at first. So we were supposed to look at the expressions and find out what the difference was in the meaning of each. So for example, the first one, I spoke to all the students in the class. They're telling us that they spoke to all the students in the class all at the same time, all at once. Whereas with the next one, I spoke to each student in the class, that means one at a time. They spoke to them individually instead of all together. So that's the difference between those two. Now the next one, none of them knew the answer. So that means that not a single student in the class knew the answer. Now if we were to say instead, neither of them knew the answer, since we're now using neither, we're saying typically neither of the two. So we have two students here, neither of those two know the answer, instead of just all of them in the class, right? Okay, so the doctor's here. That means a specific doctor is here. And if we say a doctor is here, any doctor. So the doctor, we know his name. A doctor, we don't know. It's just any doctor that might happen to be around. There's a man at the door. There is just a man, so one man is at the door. Now if we say there's some man at the door, it's an unknown man. So with the first one, we only know the number. With the second one, we know the number because it's man, it's singular, but we don't know any additional characteristics or information about that person. Now, there's a pair of socks missing. So they're telling us there's a pair, one pair. Now if they say there's a couple of socks missing, we know there are specifically two socks missing, but they might not be a pair together. So it might be one sock missing from one pair and one sock missing from another pair. We just know that the total number of socks missing is two, as opposed to the total number of pairs, a pair always being two socks. And lastly, for this we have whole families were evacuated from their homes. So that's the entire family was evacuated. We also have all the families were evacuated from their homes. That means all of them. So the first one we're talking about the completeness. So the entire family was evacuated. With the second we're talking about the number of families. In this case, all of them. Okay, so next I'm going to discuss the language work activity from the textbook. We're supposed to look at some expressions and find out what they actually mean. So break the ice means to introduce yourself to someone new. Stand on my own 2 feet means to become independent or to once again be independent. The bug is typically used to refer to an illness. Doesn't grab me means it doesn't interest you, it doesn't catch your attention. Such a pain means that it's something that's very inconvenient or very bothersome. And lastly, it hit me like a ton of bricks. A sudden realization that you made, that you suddenly became aware of something or some truth. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the exercises on pages 94 and 95 of the American Headway textbook. First, starting with exercise number 3. We're supposed to read the article or the reading part and then answer the comprehension questions. So I'm going to go over my answers to the comprehension questions so you can use them to check yours. So the first question they asked us, why is Catherine leaving the island? The answer is because her second child is starting high school soon and they don't have a high school on the island, so she needs to go somewhere where they have a high school so that her child can attend. In what ways is muck removed from the 21st century? In these ways. First of all, they don't have a police force. They don't have a post office. The TV only works from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to midnight. So those are some of the ways in which it's removed from 20th century life. Now you can also say, or rather the other question that they ask us, why is the arrival of the boat a great social event? That's because the island collects provisions brought by the boat in cardboard boxes. So it's a great social event for them that they get to receive products from somewhere else and unload them onto their island. Why can't anyone choose to move to Muck? Because the McEwen family has a feudal level of authority over the island and they actually own and rent out all the houses. So To be able to move there and live there, you first need permission from them. And some people might not receive permission, so that's why. What kind of people are not wanted on the island? They don't want people from the south because according to the reading, they are too idealistic to be able to survive on that island. And the next question that they ask us is, what does this mean? By 1973, Muck's population had dropped to the teens. So they're saying it had dropped to anywhere from 13 to 19. So when they say the teens, they're talking about those numbers. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So anywhere in there. Next question. What do you learn about the history of the island? You bump into the same people repeatedly, and sometimes you run out of small talk. That's just one of the facts of life on that small island of Muck. So now they ask us about some numbers. What did the following numbers refer to? 1973 refers to the year when they reached one of their lowest recorded populations. Number 23 refers to the number of adults that live on the island. 8 by 2, well, here's what that means. 8 and the next year, 2, if no one comes, means the number of children. So right now they have 8, but according to them, that by the next year, that number is going to go down to 2 based on people moving away or things like that, or growing up and not being children anymore. That number is going to drop to 2 if new people don't move to their island. 13, that is the number of houses on the island. 320, that is the number of people living on the island in 1821. And 1,500, that's the number of acres covered by the island. Which of these things does the island have? So they don't have a post office, they don't have a church, they don't have a pub, they don't have a luxury hotel, they don't have a guest house. They do have sharks. They don't have whales. They do have an elementary school. They do have TV. They do not have a police officer, and they do not have a high school. Next, I'm going to look at the exercise called vocabulary work. So here were the answers to these, and again, the instructions were to replace the words in italics with something that has a similar meaning based on what they provide. So here were my answers. Number 1, teeny and tranquil. Number 2, jog. Number 3, doubles. Number 4, far removed from 20th or 21st century style civilization. The next one, notions. The next one, beware. The next one, huge bear of a man. Then bursting with vitality. Then guts. Then bump into. And finally, hustle and bustle. That covers it for those pages. Now I'm going to talk about the exercises on pages 96 and 97 of your textbook. Let's start with exercise number 2. With this one, we're supposed to complete using expressions of time or life. So here are my answers, and you can check yours against this. Number 1, take your time. Number 2, there's no time to lose. Number 3, got a new lease on life. Number 4, it's really stood the test of time. Number 5, in the nick of time. Number 6, for the time being. And number 7, not on your life. Now I'm going to look at exercise 3. We had to complete the sentences with the suitable line. So B, apparently. A, actually. However. B, personally. A, anyway. B, still, after all, and basically. B, all the same, if you ask me. B, honestly. B, definitely. A, surely. And B, obviously, basically, ideally. So those were the responses to the sections that they asked us to fill in for those conversations. And that'll do it for this final feedback video. For those of you taking the final, I wish you luck. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.